What's up, mathematicians? For today's vlog, we will have a topic which is logic theory. In logic, every statement must be logically written in if then statement. So our if is the premise and our then is our conclusion. So there are four types of logical statement in logic. What are they? So number one is conditional, two, converse, three is inverse, and the fourth type is the contrapositive. So now we can define the converse, the contrapositive, the inverse of a conditional statement. So we start with a conditional statement. If P, then Q. The converse of the conditional statement is if Q, then P. Our contrapositive of the conditional statement is if not Q, then not P. And our inverse of the conditional statement is if not P, then not Q. So let us have an example here in order for us to know it better and to know really on how um, to know or to give the equivalent of the specific logical statement. Okay? So number one, the problem is what is the converse of the conditional of the inverse of the contrapositive? So in that question or in that problem that was given to you, you will going to select or you need to know what are the given logical statements. So, diba, we have four logical statements which are the conditional, the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. So, let us kanang ato siyang we will going to find. So, we will going to find, okay? So, here the first one is the converse. And we have also converse. We have also our conditional, our inverse, and lastly our contrapositive. So how will we going to how we will going to give the equivalence of these logical statements? So we will going to do it first is that we will going to identify. And the second step is that we are going to start from the last. Okay? So, diba, we have here in our given problem, we have four logical statement, the converse, the conditional, the inverse, and the contrapositive. So, the last one, the last one here, which is the contrapositive, in order to give the equivalent logical statement, we will going to make it the first one. Okay? So, imbes nga converse, conditional, inverse, and contrapositive, we will make it contrapositive, inverse, conditional, and converse in order for us to give the equivalence of that specific statement. So let us start with the contrapositive. So what is the statement or what is the statement of a contrapositive? Diba? It is not Q. If not Q, then not P. There is a negation and it is also exchange. Okay? So here we will change the color of our pen in order for us to understand it better. So here, so it is our contra positive. the one that I am circling with a red color. So contrapositive is a negation and it is also an exchange. So therefore, we already have our first logical or equivalent logical statement. So then, nakakuha na to sa contrapositive. So therefore, we will use that contrapositive as our foundation in which what do you mean by the word foundation? So mao na siya to ang himuon na we will going to make it our base, or we will going to base our next logical statement in that specific statement. So if it is our base, so next one we are going to do is that we are going to give the equivalent of the inverse here, right here, because we already done with the contrapositive. So our inverse is that what we are going to do to our statement to make it an inverse statement. So we will going to what? Okay, we will going to put a negation. We will going to put a negation to our foundation statement. And our foundation statement right here is our contrapositive. So therefore, we have negative because we put inverse, or we will give the inverse of it, and then we will put the negation to the contrapositive. So therefore, we have the negative P, a negative Q, negative times negative Q. So our statement will be if negative negative Q, then negative negative P. So therefore, negative times negative is equal to positive. So therefore, our inverse logical equivalent statement of our contrapositive is that we have, so we have here the QP. So that is our inverse. Our inverse. Next step is that since we already have our logical statement equivalence in inverse, so ang inverse na pod atong himuon na foundation to the next statement that we are going to give an equivalence. So next is that we will going to have an equivalence of the conditional. So therefore, what is the conditional statement of this one? Right here. So what is the conditional statement of our second statement? So in order for us to know, or in order for us to remember that our conditional is, what do you mean by the word conditional for our logical statement? The statement itself is cannot be changed, or it is copied, or the foundation will not be changed. The foundation will just be copied to the next step. So therefore, since we are going to give an equivalence to our conditional statement, then we will not going to change our if Q then P here, because we are going to have, or to give the conditional, because conditional is cannot be changed. Okay? It should be copied. So therefore, our third here is copied from the statement right there. Okay, so the last one that we are going to give an equivalence is the converse statement. So therefore, we will going to, so our QP here. Okay, we will now going to have a converse statement. So from the foundation that we have here, since we already have our conditional statement, if Q then P, then we will find the converse. So as what we understood that our converse, what should we do to our statement to make it a converse statement? Then we will going to exchange it. So we have, instead of our statement here in the third, our conditional is if Q then P, therefore we have our converse here. It is already exchanged. So this is read as if P then Q. So our last statement is, as what we see, it is a conditional because it, as what we observe or as what we know on the on the previous page here, that our conditional, we can say that our statement is a conditional if P then Q. So our statement, our last statement to our answer is P if P then Q. So therefore that statement is conditional. Okay? Do you understand? So in order for us to understand more, I have given you a next example, second example. Okay. Let us all read it. What is the inverse of the conditional of the converse of the contrapositive of the inverse? It is very difficult to understand kanang diretso-diretso, no? Because we are needed to, because it's logic, we need to have it step by step in order for us to not to understand well. Okay? So first step is that we will going to find the logical statement present on the problem. So therefore, the logical statements that are here are the inverse, the conditional, the converse, the contrapositive, and the inverse. So therefore, we have five logical statements that we need to give an equivalence. So, so since the step 2 is that we will going to make the last one as our first logical statement or answer. So right here. So what is the inverse? It is that we will put a negation, right? Okay. So therefore our first statement is that if negative P, then if not P, then not Q. So next, this will be now our foundation. Right here. This statement right here will now be our foundation. So next one is that we will going to make it to be contrapositive since contrapositive is next to inverse. So how do we make the statement into contrapositive? We will going to put a negation and change our statement, or I mean exchange our statement. So as we put a negation, therefore negative is equal to positive. That's why there's no negative at all, and it is already exchanged. So it is read as negative if Q then P. So therefore that is already our second, I mean this is already our new foundation. Next, we will going to find the converse of this statement. So, what you do or what should we do to the statement in order to make it a converse statement? We will just going to exchange our P and Q. So therefore, as what you see, we exchange it as if we read in the second foundation that if Q then P, so therefore in the third, we're going to exchange it and make it if P then Q. If P then Q. Yeah, next. So therefore we have a new foundation which is P if P then Q. So therefore we will going to find the conditional. So what do we do to our statement in order to make it a conditional statement? We will just copy the foundation because in the conditional statement, we should not do anything. We should not exchange, we should not put negation, just copy it, okay? So that is why we copy here our PQ, our PQ here. So therefore, we already have a new foundation which is if P then Q. So next one is that we will going to find its inverse statement. So how do we do to our statement in order to make it an inverse statement? We will going to put a negation. So we will just copy the statement itself and put a negation to it. And it is read as if not P, then not Q. So let us Okay, let us know what is this kind of statement here. If not P, then not Q. So in order for you to know it more, you'll just we'll just pick here. If not P, then not Q. So our conditional statement is if not P, then not Q. Therefore, our last statement is inverse. So that is why we will going to put inverse right here. It is very easy. I know that all of you can do it because you're great mathematicians. And this video will help you understand well. So in order for you to have a knowledge, I mean to remember everything, so here's the list, or I took it a summary for you to in order for you to understand well. So in the foundation, we will going to base here our statement. So conditional, nothing will change. In converse, we will going to exchange our P and our Q. In inverse, we will going to put a negation to our P and to our Q. In our contrapositive, we will going to exchange our P and Q and also put a negation to our P and Q. I guess that would be our video, or that would be our topic. And I want you to think or to understand more about our specific topic, because logic is everywhere and it is very applicable in everyday life. So let's call it a day and goodbye. See you on the next vlog. Thank you.